for the open on Thursday, January 17th. I want to pull up the daily here. Today after the close, we get Netflix earnings. As one of the best performers off the December lows and the best performing FANG, Netflix behavior after reporting will be a big canary for the overall market. Now, Netflix bottomed at 231 in late December, right here, running to 359 yesterday. Notice that this is 180 degrees from the all-time high. Again, 180 degrees from high to find the low. So Netflix bottomed at 231 and ran to 359 yesterday. Two cycles of 360 degrees up in price from low is 369. If you don't have my square of 9 wheel, here's a way to figure that with a calculator. You take the square root of 231, the low, that's 1519. Adding 2 and resquaring gives you a 360 degree move. So 1519 plus 2 is 1719. Resquared is 285.50. In order to get another full revolution of 360 degrees for a 720 degree move off the lows, you take the square root of the low, 1519, you add 4, you resquare, and you get 368, 369, and obviously Netflix is looming on a spike to that level, and earnings could certainly do it. Notice that let's pull the lens back here a little. Notice that the late December low in Netflix ties to the open gap from January. So you may get you get a rocket right here and then a deep pullback. So a mirror image foldback could be in the wheelhouse. Notice that the December low satisfied 3 drives to a low. Markets typically play out in threes. You see 1, 2, 3, and this is a fractal of this 3 drives to a low. So again, you had this big rally here up to this trend line, and now you've rallied back up to a Pinocchio if this trend line. It's going to be important for Netflix to hold this gap and this trend line around 340-ish on any reaction following earnings. Netflix runaway move has been defined by only 2 turndowns in the dailies. Let me zoom in. Here's a trade below a prior day's low, which is a turn down in the dailies. Likewise right here. Each of those days saw Netflix rally to close near session highs, bullishly, and that telegraphed the agenda for higher prices. In other words, there have been only 2 closes that saw trade below the prior day's low, and each one of those saw Netflix actually rally to close near session highs. Netflix really launched on January 4th when an expansion right here with an expansion pivot buy signal on a gap and go above its 50-day moving average. This is the blue MA. This blue line here, the 50-day moving average. This looks like the midpoint of the move. An expansion pivot buy signal is the largest move in 10 days above or below the 50-day. In this case, obviously, it was above. Going to the weeklies quickly, the weekly Netflix shows it is broken above a declining trend line, connecting its all-time high here with its June highs and the early October highs here. This occurred at 341 again. So just as we pointed out on the daily chart previously, this 340, 341 level is going to be important. It's going to be important for Netflix to hold this region on any pullback following earnings. Notice that Netflix turned, let's zoom in. Notice that Netflix turned its 3-week chart down on the week beginning April 2nd. This is the only turn down in the 3-week chart. It didn't even turn down on this decline here. However, this is the circled 3-week chart low. Notice, by the way, that that defined a low, and as soon as it turned down, and it perpetuated a blowout move to all-time highs. When Netflix traded below what I call this circled 3-week chart low, the 3-week chart also turned down again. In other words, the 3-week chart turns down on 3 consecutive lower weekly lows, or on trade below a circled 3-week chart low, which occurred here. Now, this week, you have 3 consecutive higher weekly highs, and Netflix turns its 3-week chart back up. If the trend is bearish, or if we're going to have a downturn, this week's turn up in the 3-week chart should define a high soon in terms of time and price. Interestingly, if so, a pullback towards the 50-week and the 20-week could install a right shoulder of an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Here's a left shoulder, possible head, and a possible right shoulder. So heads up for a spike and reversal towards this 368, 369 level that reverses and falters back below this 341 level. That should act to support this trend line here. But if broken, you could see a decline all the way back towards the 300 to 320 region. Finally, 360 degrees down from the all-time high, which is 423, also ties to 345. So this clearly puts 340 to 345 on the radar on any reaction that may play out in Netflix. Appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Good luck out there today.